One author says, in every crisis lies opportunity, and that can be said of Zambia's energy sector, which at the moment is dealing with a crisis that was induced by, of course, a cocktail of factors, but predominantly among them is the natural phenomena. Today, we are discussing Zambia's energy sector, and you are welcome on the People Space podcast with me, Winston Mavor. I am privileged to be able to converse today on this important subject with FitzPatrick Kapepe, who is coming all the way from Zesco. He is Director, Strategy and Business Development. You're welcome, sir.
Sure, thank you so much, Whitson.
Okay, so we've got a tradition on the People Space podcast. Before we get into, these important issues that we get to discuss, we first of all want to get to know a little bit about our guests. I know you're a very important man at Zesco, though people hardly see you, not in front of the cameras like us, but I know you're a very important man at Zesco. So beyond what you do, who is Fitzpatrick Kapepe?
I'm a villager. I'm a villager. Um, how would I even say it?
There's a lot to say, eh?
Yeah, there is a lot to say, but maybe to start with, most people probably they wouldn't know about this. I'm an ardent chess player.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but equally a villager that is basically a cow header, and I always go to the village every 2 weeks. My village is I think about 380 kilometers away from Lusaka, so I always have time to get connected to my people and my animals. For I became director at Zesco under strategy and business development. I was like the first of Zesco budgeting department. Each time people would go for budgets, whether in 2012, 2013, the first that actually used to be very predominant during the budgeting processes was myself, and I became a manager under budgets. I think in 2016. Then went on to become the chief financial analyst under business development, still at Zesco. Then that was in 2020. By end of 2020, in 2021, end of 2021, actually was promoted to senior manager under business development. Still under financial analysis. I'm a numbers person. Then in November 2022, I acted as the head of business development. January 2026, I was confirmed as the head of business development. So moving from a room where it's just to crack numbers, do financial models and the like, then found myself now start heading business development and ran with the ball. I think we did quite a number of things with my team. Then 2024, December 2024, which was basically on 19th December 2024. And please, just as something that you need to learn to know about me, I like 19th December.
Okay.
19th December
What is special?
2016, I think that's when now I became a manager, budgets and compliance. Then 19th December 2024, I then actually became director, strategy and business development. Nothing really changed. It was just the elevation of the title from head of business development to director, strategy and business development. So 19th December is actually quite a very special day. Outside that, I do a lot of lecturing. I've been I think in Zambia, there isn't anybody who has actually done a lot of financial modeling than myself. I've produced over 260 videos on YouTube. I have my own YouTube channel. I've trained people around the globe. So you can go and just check it out there and see a lot of things that I've done.
What an interesting
Sure.
combination there, you know, of leadership, academia,
Mhm.
and of course, outside that, you're talking about agriculture and everything, which actually makes you a very, very interesting guest for us today on the People Space podcast. But let us now get into our, meat of discussion. Obviously, we are looking at the energy sector, and there's so much that is currently said about the energy sector. And what we've noticed on this platform is that many of the things said are said out of ulterior motives, some out of ignorance. But of course, our quest is to try and make sure that we bring out the true picture for people to understand and beyond the ulterior motives out there to see what is really there and perhaps even benefit on what is, they can benefit from when it comes to energy sector. So coming from Zesco, I know that the power utility is increasingly positioning itself within the region, when it comes to power trading. And Zesco is positioning itself when it comes to regional markets. So, can you just explain to us the role of power trading in Zesco's business model?
Okay, thank you, Watson. I'm a very positive person. I'm not going to look at the ulterior motives. I believe that all these that have actually been commenting, they're actually commenting coming from a good space, but probably maybe just a bit of some ignorance about energy. Energy is not something that we learn in school like geography, history, and because now we've actually been found in this crisis that we are in today, it actually means that a lot of people have been interested because obviously with the power shortages, it has disrupted a lot of lives. So everyone now has become an energy expert. But obviously without understanding the intricacies around the sector itself. Power trading is actually a very important component of Zesco's strategy. We we are actually interconnected. Our network is interconnected regionally. So we are under what you call as SAP, which is Southern African Power Pool. It means that we can actually import power and export power. So that trading is basically a market platform where power is actually either bought or sold. So I thought maybe I needed to mention this, but it's very vital to Zesco's strategy, and it helps us even in optimizing our own generation. Thank you.
Okay. One of the things that obviously people have spoken with the emergence of the opportunity in the energy sector, that even the president himself is on record encouraging the majority of Zambians to take advantage of, is that how will this leave Zesco? So we'd like to find out, does the existence and the emergence of power traders in the power trading market support, or perhaps it may sink our power utility? Is it a threat?
So maybe let me just explain what power trading is or who these power traders are. They are
I
a
was actually
market
getting to
participant.
that. Okay, but I'm
Yeah.
glad that you're starting there.
Yeah, yeah,
Please
yeah.
start with us
They
there.
are market participants. And I'm not going to first mention them, but they are market participants. And you ask me, who are these? But
Okay,
they are
we'll
just
get
market
there.
participants that are using innovative ways to, to trade, but also helping utility firms like Zesco to mobilize or source financing. They are actually key because when you look at traditional lending institutions, their focus is on the balance sheet. And Zesco's balance sheet at this stage, it's still not okay. We have made a lot of strides, but obviously for a balance sheet, the balance sheet can still change overnight and become from bad to good. But the most important thing about a balance sheet is confidence. How much confidence, how much trust do other key sector players, do other players, stakeholders such as lenders, equity providers. So there are a number of things that have to actually be done. So the power traders have come they came at the right time. Trust me, all the power traders, apart from one, which is CEC, they have actually been in existence. They came into existence during this new government. So without the power traders, with the crisis that we have been in, or this crisis that we are in, Whetstone would have actually sunk.
Mm.
Would have sunk. And I'll give you a bit of some empirical evidence.
Mm-hmm.
In 2017, first, the drought that we had, which is almost similar to what we've had in 2024, was the one in 2015. In 2015, at that time, Zesco's balance sheet was good. When I say it was good, meaning that the stakeholders, key stakeholders, had the confidence in that balance sheet, that we could get power, we could actually buy power without necessarily paying for it, on the promise that we would actually pay at the end of the month or what. But then that 2015 drought, and maybe before that, before the drought, because I was in budgeting, I was in the budgeting office. So we used to actually say, are these numbers from the balance sheet, are they real? Because the interest coverage ratio, it was around 80 times. By the time that the drought for 2015 devastated the balance sheet, the interest cover moved from positive to negative. Because at that time we had procured the power, in case you don't know, maybe we were very young. At that time we procured the power from Kapawa Ship, a very big boat which docked in Mozambique.
I covered the story actually.
Greco, EDM, Escom, and we owed them money. In 2018, you can check from your Google. In 2018, EDM, we owed it about $70 million. In 2019, we owed it about $53 million. 2021, we owed EDM $24 million, which was basically legacy debt. So when this crisis now actually hit us the second time, around 2024, we went to Mozambique to go and procure more power. But there, obviously, had the records, said, no, we will not give you this power until you pay for it. It had to take, obviously, the government to actually help us, and that is how that $24 million was paid. But the issues of trust are very key in securing more and more electrons. Obviously, we have lost because we owed so many utility companies, so many suppliers or providers of power. The power traders are coming in to actually close that gap. One, on the financing issues. I'll tell you one thing, that the power traders can go, say, to Escom or to any other providers or suppliers of power, strike a deal today. In the next 3-4 days, they're able to move the electrons. As it's not possible. There are a lot of structural issues that actually inhibit us from doing what they are able to do. One is that once we prepare these agreements, we have agreed with these utility companies or providers of power, we'll have to go to the AGs because we're a public institution. They're a private institution, so they're able to strike today and actually close the deal and start providing that power. But we're in a crisis. So this is how they're coming in quickly. But secondly, is that our balance sheet hasn't been good. We are trying to resuscitate it. We have tried to resuscitate it. And we are it has been actually taken back to good health. But because the balance sheet is still not very good, when we go out there, the providers of power, they'll actually ask, because of the experiences of the past, they'll ask for, say, prepayments, for 2 months prepayments. If you're lucky, for 1 month prepayment, meaning that we have to pay for this power in advance. But they will not stop there. They will also ask for payment security. It has to be escrowed in an escrow account, which in an event that we actually fail to meet the invoices, we fail to pay, they are able to draw from that escrow account. We are not very liquid. You know that even our tariffs are not yet cost reflective. I think I've been on public fora talking about cost reflectivity of this, right? So the power traders come in because they are liquid and they are able to buy that power. They are able to pay those payment securities, able to prepare. Sometimes, like in the case of another trader that I'll mention later, once you ask me, if you will be able to ask me, they came in to use the Zesco agreement with ESCOM, and they provided the power, which was about, I think, 130 to 140 megawatts around 28th November. I think that is when that deal was actually reached in terms of financial close. So there are all these things, otherwise we could have sunk, and all the power traders, and I'll mention them one by one, of the things that have actually done to help us at least float.
I think for the interest of people actually understanding better, what you are saying, who are these power traders? And you can go ahead. We want to know.
So these market participants or friends of ours, they are one obviously of CC. I don't know if CC should be categorized as a power trader because they're able to generate their own power, able to buy power from us. So maybe we'll put them aside. But these players that actually came in during the tenure of the UPND government, there are, I think, about 4. So we have Canona, we have EN Power. EN Power, they are power traders, but I think their domain is more on the Congo. They have no presence on the local market. We have African Greenco. So we have these as main players, major players in the sector of coming as power traders. And I think to be fair for me to talk a little bit about them and how they've actually helped us to manage this crisis. It would have been worse, right? Just to give you a perspective, first in 2015, when we were faced with a similar challenge, our GDP actually reduced to, I think, about 2.5 or 2.8%. This time around, our GDP is going up. In 2024, our GDP went to about 3.9 to 4%. It clearly shows you that even with the crisis, we have actually managed to sail through. And the credit has to be given to all these players that I'm yet to mention, the market participants. So we have Greenco. Where I mentioned we have Canona, we have Greenco, we have EN Power. For example, I'll start with EN Power. EN Power during this crisis, they actually helped us in terms of the power provision. The deal with the EN Power was basically on banking. What it means about power banking, obviously I use banking about money, but now there are all these innovative ways in which it's actually, so power banking, where they buy power, say, from their suppliers, wherever. And instead of willing this power to their customers, they say, Zesco, we are going to give you this power for such a period of time when you're still stressed, but we'll be banking in smaller quantities. So that is what EN Power was doing. For African Greenco, a very innovative market participant, and have been very helpful. We have worked with them in so many programs or projects. So African Greenco, when at the height of the crisis, I think the deal was done by 28th November. So Greenco comes in with this innovative idea or proposal that Zesco will actually use your backbone agreement with ESCOM, be able to mobilize financing from a lending institution in this case, and these are no longer secrets because there was even a press statement to that effect with Stanbic. Stanbic comes in with the financing Greenco for power imports at $55.5 million. Greenco provides this money, and we imported power of about 130 to 140 megawatts should have been, I think, for 3 months. Then the deal was that obviously part of that power, because that power, we needed that power. It was a time that Mamba, it was actually going for maintenance and all these others. And we were just in a fix, right? So then they will actually be withdrawing this power in smaller quantities, which we call unbanking, in smaller quantities. And that is how we were helped. So imagine if Greencore were not there. And also, the question you would actually want to ask is that how possible is it that Greencore managed to get the $55.5 million? Why didn't Zesco? Why didn't Stanbic give Zesco $55.5 million? Again, there are certain things that you need to understand, Watson and the viewers. There's what they call single obligo. Obligo, I think it's a word that comes from obligation. So every bank has a limit to that. That every the clients like Zesco, we cannot go and get from Zanaco, from whatever. They are whatever money that we have actually gotten that would get from these lending institutions, there's headroom, right? But then once you reach what they call single obligo limit, meaning
like
that we cannot go, it's a ceiling, because they wouldn't want to invest all their risks in one entity. So we have reached almost on those ceilings. So there's no way we could have actually gone there. But obviously, innovatively, Greencore comes in and we are able to access on Greencore's balance sheet, not on Zesco's balance sheet. So these are things that people need to understand. Why Zesco could have just gone to get this money. Usually this is what happens on Facebook or when people are blogging, which is okay. It's good for our fellow citizens to blog and say whatever they have to say. But I think it is our duty to actually bring out these facts as is. Yeah.
You've also mentioned Canona. What role have they played as well?
Then Canona. Sorry. Yeah, there's a lot. How I wish we had 3 hours here. So
no, we'll bring you back. Don't worry, we'll bring you back.
so for Canona, they came in to help through prepayments, right? So for them, obviously, we had to do prepayment agreements where they offload, say, money for that ideally would actually get for 12 months. So let me say you get a salary of 10,000 kwacha per month. Then your employer decides, say, you know what, Watson, I've been struggling to organize financing, to organize your salary on a monthly basis. So I'll give you 120,000. Meaning that I've prepaid the salary for the whole 12 months. You'll just be coming to work for me. I hope I'm allowed to use vernacular here.
Please.
So, and you'll be working for me. Right? That is a principle on prepayments. Remember one thing. Traditional lending institutions, whether DFIs or whatever, it is very difficult to reach financial close. For your own information, Chisamba Phase 1, the 100 megawatts power plant. I'm sure you know that there's a power plant in Samba, where our subsidiary, KNBE, and Greencore, they are actually the off-takers for that transaction, for it to be bankable. But obviously the power is actually going, because obviously the power is actually being utilized by citizens. But then you understand that particular plant, it reached financial close. At the time we were doing financial close and celebrations at Stanbic, the plant had already been built 2 weeks after the plant was already completed. Right? So you need to understand these issues about financing. So Canona comes in for prepayments. They prepare this money with the view that they'll actually be getting the power in smaller quantities as well. But also, most importantly, is that it then gives Zesco, because Zesco cannot go and borrow money from these lending institutions. It takes a lot of time. This is the money now that we actually optimize for investments. So most of these projects that you actually see, we're actually using these innovative financing solutions to push in what they call counterpart funding, which is basically equity contribution. Because these projects, they are actually developed on project financing principles. So project financing principles, usually you'll find that 70% or 85% of the total project cost comes from debt. 15% or 30% comes from equity. But for those to give you debt, there are CPs or conditional precedences that first, let's see you use your money. And this is why they say equity is expensive. So this is how we've actually managed to prepare to get all these monies through prepayments, finance our debt, go into part of operations, investments. And we're actually doing a lot of investments. That was Canona. I've mentioned about Greenco. I've mentioned about Greenco. I've mentioned about Canona. I think I've also mentioned about EN Power.
Okay.
Anything else?
Interesting. Interesting. But before we get on a break, would like to find out, having mentioned some of these players, and there are those that probably could be sitting on the fence right now, who can innovatively organize themselves and be able to jump on, partner with the Zesco in one way or another to be able to take advantage. I mean, from what you've explained, the opportunities are real. And I'll keep referring. Sometimes when the president stands and is talking about these things, sometimes people fail to draw the line between real investment opportunities and politicking. And I'll say this from an individual point of view, where I've seen that the man is there struggling, like emphasizing to say, guys, jump on this. Guys, jump on this. So before we go on a break, what opportunities exist for local businesses that are watching us right now, and other independent players that can come on and jump on this opportunity that is in the energy sector?
So, first thing first, Wedson, is that I think there's need, and I'm happy with these initiatives that you have started talking more about energy. The energy sector is like, it is veiled. Very few people know about it, and because very few people know about it, more people write things from an informed position. There are a lot of opportunities. I'm glad because I sit at the center of all these transactions, the things that I'm seeing. I was even joking with a colleague of mine that whenever you're coming from outside Zambia, getting to Lusaka, just in the plane, 10 to 20% of the people in that plane, and these are foreigners, they are coming to explore energy opportunities in this country. Currently at Zesco, and this is actually being managed by my directorate, my team, they have over 100 active conversations in terms of negotiations with the power developers. Power developers, these also want to go into trading. But sadly, they are actually, all these conversations, it's not you and me, it's foreigners. Us, I think we have become champions of blogging, writing, talking about conspiracy theories, which is okay, but we can still do both. I don't know if you're getting me. We can still do both.
I do.
And I'm glad in the I'm glad in the last 2 or so months, we have actually seen 2 small market participants have come in, who are Zambians. We have seen Reliance Energy coming in. These are guys who used to sell fuel. They have decided, no, yes, we have these filling stations, but let's also get into power. We have also seen Capstone coming in. These are just Zambians, right? And the opportunities are quite huge. So there's no restriction that, it's just for the big boys and big girls. No, it's just for Canona, for Greenco, for EN Power. This thing is still open. I would tell you openly that there are no barriers to entry. You can go to Ministry of Energy there, you get a license, you go whatever, to the ERB, it will not even take long because we're in a crisis. And these are opportunities, and I've kept on saying, and I believe that the next millionaires and billionaires in Africa, new millionaires, first generation millionaires. Not that, no, but that your mother was what. Me and you just come from the village and you just come in town and you start this power trading, whatever, or you go into energy, you build your plant. The first generation of millionaires and billionaires in Africa, they'll come from the energy sector. So this is just a plea to Zambians and viewers that I think let's refocus or repurpose ourselves, maybe go into energy sector. There are still very few barriers to entry, but also the most important thing is not like getting into a business where you deal with buses. With buses, you just hear when someone gets on a bus from Livingstone by Zim, but no tire choker, no, we have a problem, we have a tire puncture and whatever. You know it's going to be wheeled. This power is going to be wheeled. The people obviously maintaining the lines. All you do, you just pay wheeling charges. You are not worried whether there'll be an accident along the way, whether you've insured, you've done all these things. These are opportunities that we can get into generation, we can get into transmission. We are seeing now, actually, again, we are seeing where key players are coming out there. When I say out there, outside Zambia, that are now getting into distribution and with very amazing concepts. So it's quite interesting.
Indeed. Obviously, you did mention some barriers, but we'll get into those after the break. You are watching the People Space podcast with me, Winston Mavoro. We are talking Zambia's energy sector, particularly focusing on the opportunities that lie in the crisis that we are slowly finding our way out of. And of course, understanding what power trading is, exploring the Zambian power trading market, understanding who the key players are. And so far, I can tell you, I'm so glad that we're having this conversation because the transparency is off the charts. We'll see you after the break.
Hi, my name is Lovinda Bazoka. I would like to invite you to join me on the People Space podcast. We'll be discussing the energy sector. Going to be explaining the potentials that Zambia's energy sector has, how you can be able to take part as a citizen, to be able to enhance your livelihoods and also to generate income for yourselves, your families, and your peers. How Zambians can come together and create wealth and create the first billionaire, because the energy sector is the future for the Republic of Zambia.
Welcome back to People Space Podcast. Today we are looking at the energy sector, focusing on the Zambian power trading market, understanding who the players are, what their role has been, how they've helped to alleviate the impact that the crisis has had on both the citizens and all the players generally in the economy. And of course, providing some perspectives and enlightenment to that effect is no other than Mr. FitzPatrick Kapepe, all the way from Zesco. He is the Director, Strategy and Business Development. Now, before we get into our conversation and continue from where we left off, I would like to post a reminder to each and every one of you that are watching us and following the conversations of the People Space podcast. You do stand a chance to win yourself some amazing prizes, which range from t-shirts, mug cups. In fact, when we talk about t-shirts, I am wearing one at the moment, and I can tell you that it's top quality. And there are other several fantastic prizes that you can win. All you simply have to do is be active on the platforms where we broadcast these episodes. That is YouTube and Facebook under the handle the Center for Trade Policy and Development, and CTPD Zambia on other platforms such as Twitter, which is now X. You're talking about, Instagram, you're talking about TikTok and all those. If your comment garners enough traction, you might just be that lucky winner. And by the way, we may not just give you a t-shirt. Who knows? Since we know Mr. Kapepe, we can give you an opportunity to actually go and see him and have a conversation with him. So jump on this. We continue with the conversation, Mr. Kapepe. You mentioned the opportunities that Zambians can jump on. What are some of the barriers at the moment, or maybe challenges, and how are they being addressed?
Yeah, so obviously there are electricity. We have now electricity reforms. We have this open access. Obviously, you are able to see all the net metering. All these are opportunities that are coming in Watson. Yeah, but maybe the challenges that I see, again, based on experience, I've seen a number of Zambians feel probably not a number of them that are coming into power generation and all that. The biggest problem that they have is not to acquire the PPA, because I think what we've actually told ourselves is that we should actually help any Zambian that comes and wants to get a power purchase agreement. We have to walk them through and ensuring that we just carry them up to a particular place where we think we are able to give them a power purchase agreement and all that. We are actually helping quite a number of them. But what I've seen is that once they have been given these power purchase agreements, the issues of mobilizing financing is a big problem in this country. This is one major problem that we have, because obviously we do not have a dedicated development finance institution in this country, which can provide a component, at least even a component of equity, like maybe Africa 50 and all these other institutions that are able to do that. Because you can have, for example, for an ordinary Zambian that has managed to get a PPA for 100 megawatts, for 100 megawatts, it actually means that if you look at it on one-to-one, it means that the capital outlay in there is supposed to be $100 million. From the $100 million is expected, once it goes to the financiers, is expected to mobilize about 30% of that, which is $30 million from the $100 million. So that the $70 million comes in as debt, the $30 million comes in as equity. And because equity is costly, it is demanded that you first use your equity before you use your debt. And you should actually show some evidence that you have managed to organize this counterpart funding. So tell me how many Zambians will be in a position to organize a $30 million. So this is where there should be deliberate, maybe not policies, maybe efforts to ensuring that we have institutions that are able to actually help in terms of equity. Because equity becomes a CP that will help you to reach financial close and be able to mobilize this financing and go to construction phase and you go to commercial phase. So for me, that is a barrier that I see, especially on the power development side. But on the power trading side, I don't think there are any major barriers. If you can organize a 500, a 200, whatever, and you're able to move electrons from one end to another, and as long as you have a market for that particular electrons that you're moving to, then you can actually get into this space. And I urge Zambians to actually get into this.
Jump on
They
it.
can block, but they can also develop these power plants. They can get into the power sector or the energy sector. I think they can do both.
Interesting. Now, let's turn our attention. Obviously, when we talk about the spur of investment in the energy sector, one thing that we have to be cognizant about is the sustainability aspect of it. We have to be cautious of the environment and all these things. Now, we've seen under the banner of, climate change fight, which we don't condemn in any way. Would like to set the record straight on this platform. We've seen there's a growing resistance, when it comes to coal-based power investments, due to environmental concerns here and there. So we just want to find out, Zesco as an entity that is looking at diversifying, its energy mix, its energy pool. How is this shift influencing or going to influence Zesco's long-term energy strategy?
First, Watson, I think experience has taught us that electricity is electricity or electrons are electrons. And if you don't have those electrons, you actually may be killing people. People die in hospitals. People's businesses will actually die. And once they start compromising health issues and the like. So you also need to understand one thing, that the technologies have actually changed over time. We now have clean core or clean thermal plants where you can get into this core power generation and you will not emit as much in terms of the carbon footprint and whatever. We tend, as Africans, sometimes we tend to copy things that are coming from outside. In Europe, for example, what's the alternative to earn energy? Even if they do not, it's easier for them to implement these issues of going into discouraging thermal and all that, because their citizens usually they don't actually do home cooked food. They go to restaurants, and these are just facts. But for this part of the world, when you discourage coal, you encourage charcoal. When you encourage charcoal, you're encouraging cutting of the trees. The very part that you want to preserve, you're actually going to cutting, into destroying it. So why not just go for coal, control it, and ensure that it's clean? Have 2, 3, 4 people, 3 institutions that are able to use that and convert that coal. Because this is what was given to us by God. And there must be a reason why God gave us that. And convert it into energy. Then say we are not going to go for coal, we'll go for solar just. Yes, solar is important, but it's intermittent. And it's not base load, so you need to actually combine it. So energy mix is very important, and coal should actually be at the heart of national strategy in ensuring that we have energy security. But know this, you discourage coal, you encourage charcoal.
I like that. You discourage coal, you encourage charcoal. And you know, one person joked with me when we were having a conversation that was bordering on this, and they were saying, you know, it's funny how the developed countries are now coming to tell us to stay away from what really built their industrialization. You know, their industrialization was built on the backbone of coal. But here they are telling us now to kind of put brakes on it. But anyway, I love what you've said. Another thing that I would like us to, you know, turn our attention to, which I feel is of great significance, when we talk about further making the Zambian energy sector investment attractive, you know, tariffs play a very critical role when it comes to this. And one of the things that I'd like to find out, or what would want you to explain on, is at the moment, what kind of tariff model is Zesco using? And I know there's been a whole lot of debate on this, and you touched on it briefly in your other statements where you are saying the tariffs at the moment are not really cost reflective. When are we going to get to cost reflective tariffs after you explain what model it is that we're using at the moment?
So we are gliding to cost reflectivity according to the multi-year tariff framework. And even when we are actually given those tariffs that are guided by the multi-year tariff framework, our intention is to go to cost reflectivity. We are gliding towards cost reflectivity by 2027. Their tariffs are still a bit low, but also you need to understand one thing, that tariffs, it's not just like going to sell tomatoes at Soweto and you find all the tomatoes are actually being sold at 10 kwacha, for example. The electricity is priced based on technology, priced based on how you've structured it. You may, for example, have the same, maybe just to give you these technologies, just as a range. For solar energy, levelized cost of energy is about 7 cents. And obviously going below, but I'll explain these things. You have thermal that is about 10.5. You have smaller hydros, because smaller hydros are more expensive than these bigger hydros. They are actually around 11 to 12 cents per kilowatt hour. You have these big hydros that are around 8 to about 9 cents. You have HF4, which is about 25 or so cents, sometimes it even goes to 30 cents. So sometimes there's this thing of just saying, no, Zesco is buying power at 15 cents. You need to understand that even in the Electricity Act where it's on, there is a demand for a financial model. We have to scrutinize. So power is priced based on the cost. You need to actually cover the cost of your O&M. For you to go to what they call RRR, which is required revenue, you have to cover costs, your operational maintenance, cover costs for your depreciation, Cover costs for your returns. Here now on the returns, you're actually looking at those that have invested in debt, they'll actually get interest. Those that have invested in equity, they'll get dividends. So all these have to be covered. That is how you go to cost reflectivity, or what I like to call as cost recovery. But it's technology-based tariffs. But also even those technologies, it is also based on how you've structured. I always advise when they come to Zesco, they bring their financial models and it's showing us, no, the tariff for this particular project is at 10 cents. Then say, okay, convert part of your equity, convert it to shareholders loan. The tariff goes down. Or ensure that you increase your capital structure, you leverage more, you increase your debt, and reduce on your equity, there's a change. So there are all these sensitivities that change. So you cannot have one tariff for everything. It's not possible. But in terms of cost reflectivity, it is a cost at which it is actually able to meet all the cost of O&M, the cost on depreciation, on the returns, that is debt and the equity, and what it gives you now is what they call required revenue.
Interesting there. And there's been a lot of talk when it comes to electricity tariffs. We've heard organizations that are pro-poor, genuine cause, nothing against them. They are our people, but they'll come and attack Zesco and start saying, no, Zesco is just insensitive. Zesco is busy, increasing tariffs without really... Yeah, but anyway, I'm glad that you've
but
actually...
on that one, even the poor, I've always said that in a society, we should be able, the strong must be able to help the weak. So even Zesco is very consistent to the fact that we have different levels or standards of living in the country. There are those that are not doing well, there are those that are privileged. And this is how we've come up with those lifeline tariffs. For example, the lifeline tariff for those that actually consume or use less than 100 units, they're at 35 ingwe. 35 ingwe is less than 2 cents. The cost of power around the world is above 7 cents, right? Then for those that consume going from 100 to 200, their tariff is at 1, which is about maybe under 5 cents. So when you wait with the first 100, the first lifeline in R1, it takes you to around 3 to 4 cents, which is still considerate. Then those now that the upper members, then you have to, there's no reason why you should be subsidized.
I wish. Okay, so one of the things, again, that I would like to find out from you is, as we talk about the issue of tariffs, when we talk about raising generation and financing costs, how do these affect tariff adjustments? And when it comes to justifying this to the public, as you are doing, right now, I feel like probably that is where there's a bit of a gap, but just for the sake of emphasis, how do these, influence?
So, obviously, especially at this time that, Zambia waits on currently as we sit, it is actually a construction site in the energy sector. There's a lot that is happening, and probably we are not smiling enough, or we are smiling in the dark. No one is able to see us, and therefore the smile does not mean anything.
Power supply has increased, so
yeah. So with a lot of these projects that are actually happening, I'll give you examples. We have one in Livingstone, which is actually being done by a private entity, Goli, which is Chinese. They're doing a 135 megawatts thermal plant in Chief Mkuni's area. And they have employed over 200 people. And it's quite interesting. You should find time and just go there and see the impact of these particular projects. But then what it does is that all these projects that are coming in, we have Ezra in Snazongwe, they are actually doing a 300 megawatts thermal plus 100 megawatts solar. We have Wonderful Group doing about 600 megawatts thermal. What it means is that we are introducing new costs in the generation value chain. So those are new costs because remember that generation part, it is predominantly in terms of the cost, it could be slightly lower because you have power plants that one would say they are nicely sweated. I shouldn't say fully sweated, but nicely sweated because these are power plants that were built in the 70s, right? So obviously the cost is slightly lower because there are no obligations of actually paying loans and all these other things. But these new plants that you're introducing, you expect that obviously the tariffs, in terms of cost reflectivity, we expect that the tariffs start actually going slightly up for you to get the required revenue that I was explaining. So as you introduce new generation, you introduce new cost in your cost model, and that actually influences the tariffs, and that's how it works.
Okay. One of the things still on tariffs that I've heard predominantly from ERB and various experts is the word cost plus model. What is this animal and how will it get us will it keep us on track as we are gliding, in your words, towards cost reflective tariffs?
So cost plus model is basically telling you about cost recovery. That give me a tariff that is able to cover all the costs plus a small return. That margin, that's the one that you use to actually expand, invest into your capex, capital investment. Right? It's just that margin. Because remember, you've covered already your O&M, you have covered your depreciation, you have covered the returns, that is equity and debt. So that margin actually gives you more leverage to actually expand it's basically to expand your capex.
So as we get to conclude our conversation, obviously, one of the things that I would like to find out is you mentioned earlier on the issue of debt, which I believe was the biggest aspect to the fiscal challenges that the power utility faces. And you mentioned, gladly that there's some progress that is being made. So I would like you to expound a little bit on that in terms of numbers, if you're at liberty to. Where are we exactly when it comes to making progress on that and making Zesco fiscally fit?
Yeah. So by end of December 2021, our IPP debt, and I'm not looking at long-term debt, I'm looking at IPP debt, which is basically, which should have actually been paid, which is current liability. The IPP debt, it was at $1.8 billion. What does that mean? Maybe sometimes when we use these numbers, we need to take them straight to home so that it becomes easier for everyone to understand. Iyo ndalama ya $1.8 billion, it meant that tenzotenga ndalama, titenga power from EDM, Kapawa, and all these other suppliers of power, Mamba, name it.
Everyone else, yeah.
Right? And failing to pay in full or just completely not pay. This is how that particular debt rose.
Piling up.
So because of that, it then now became a stumbling block for further growth as a company. You cannot expand, you cannot go into this generation and all these other issues because obviously the people that are providing that money, they're saying, even if we provide you this money, you have the culture of not paying. Right? So we needed to clear that. We needed to make the balance sheet beautiful. So it moved from $1.8 billion to officially $207 million. This is, I think, 2 months ago. It was at 207. And I was asking the director of finance, and I was being told, I think it's now about $187 million. The balance sheet now has become more beautiful, more attractive, but still also we need now, like I told you, balance sheet is not just about the numbers. It's also about trust and confidence that this particular balance sheet gives you or gives these stakeholders. So now we need to do all these sessions, like these initiatives that you have brought. We have to go for road shows. We have to find ourselves in conferences, energy conferences around the world to talk good things about Zesco and how far we have actually moved in terms of dismantling this debt, so that the world, once again, they start believing into our story. When they believe into our story, then it becomes easier to attract these investments. Zesco is actually a major off-taker, would-be off-taker for most of these power development projects that intend to actually happen in the country, or those that have gotten PPAs. But without a good story, without trust from the global players, it will be very difficult to attract this financing. And this is, for me, I'm very thankful. You can see the way I'm dressed. I was just told, there's this, you called me. I was going somewhere, but I said, let me come here and just have.
And we really appreciate you
Yeah,
taking time out, just to come through and give us a whole lot of information and clarifying a number of things. One of the things, again, that I would like to get off my chest is I've heard several people go on public platforms, create a narrative that Zesco at the moment is so preoccupied with making money, perhaps to pay that debt you are talking about by exporting power at the expense of us, the citizens who are subjected to prolonged hours of load shedding, though not anymore, according to the various reports I'm seeing. And of course, I've seen it at home as well. I must say, at least there's been an improvement. I can tell you, sir. I think take back the message to Zesco and say,
thank you
good
so
job.
much.
I think there has been an improvement. Yeah. So is it really true? Or maybe the question is, how do you balance the export commitments plus supplying or provision to the domestic markets? Because there's a narrative that Zesco just doesn't care about the ordinary Zambian. Zesco just wants to make its money.
How I wish I was given 3 hours or 4 hours. So, firstly, before the crisis, Zesco used to export over 500 megawatts of power. What does that mean? It means that Zesco used to contribute to Forex in this country, generation, right? With this crisis, Zesco has actually gone to under 130 megawatts of power that it's exporting. But one thing, Watson, you need to understand about life, and I'm speaking in a very slow voice, about life is that economic diplomacy is very important. Again, probably talking to viewers, you need to also understand how these assets are created. Some of the assets that are created, which you would be able to see, say, in the country, they may not have been created by yourselves. They may have been created by those same ones that you're actually saying, no, we should actually cut the power. I'm just being forthright here. When you look at these projects like KNBE project, the 360 megawatts peak load, DBSA are the ones that actually invested some money in there. But which receivables were actually assigned were from Namibia. So one indirectly can say that it's those receivables that made this project bankable, and this is how this project was built. Particularly, I've been, and they will tell you, even the guys, my team in my directorate, currently, because of these opportunities that are coming in, we are seeing interest from surrounding neighboring countries, especially Botswana and Namibia, where would-be investors are coming wanting to have PPAs with us so that they develop power plants there. My concern has always been that, guys, if we allow this to actually happen, what we'll be doing is that we are helping creating assets in different countries, right? So suppose we do that PPA, we agree and finalize on the agreements. We become the off-taker of a plant that is not yet. Remember that you become an off-taker before a plant is built, so that it becomes bankable. As they go to their financiers, they will actually say that for this project, we have a financier, we have an off-taker in Zambia, Zesco. Right? And then come up with these direct agreements and all that, and they reach financial close and get financing and start developing these plants. Now, for argument's sake, we do that in Botswana. We have maybe a plant of 100 megawatts where we're supposed to be the off-takers, or where we are the off-takers. That plant is built. They start actually sending power to us. I'm speaking in a very, very simple way. They start now willing this power is coming to Zambia. We are getting this power. Then in 3-4 years, Botswana has problems. Then the system of Botswana says, no, this power station, imagine they're sending power to Zambia.
Mm-hmm.
From what I've actually told you, would you say that plant was built by the Botswanans?
It's us.
It's us.
Mm.
Because we are the ones that made that bankable. We are the
Bankable.
ones whose receivables are assigned to the lenders for that project to be bankable.
Mm-hmm.
So Zambia should ask themselves, how was KGO built? How was KNBE built? How are these other generating assets being built?
Mm.
Right? But even going to reduce, it was a very painful part to reduce the exports from 500, 600 to 130 or below 130. You have to go and talk to those countries. Right. Basically, yes, you're saying it's force majeure and all these other things. Relationship will have to be built, have to be maintained. Right. But also you need to understand that you're also importing power. So which assets are you using to wield this power? Because this power is not going to come through Bluetooth. There are networks that they have built in these areas. So if you pull off the plug with so much disregard on economic diplomacy, it may be difficult for you to actually wield this power. Yeah. So these are things that probably we need a lot of.
We will definitely
like such.
we will definitely find time to talk about these things and perhaps just delve more into these conversations. My guest on the People Space podcast has been Mr. FitzPatrick Kapepe, all the way from Zesco. He is Director Strategy and Business Development, and we've been discussing Zambia's energy sector, the opportunities that lie. I know the conversation in the last 5-7 years has mainly been on the crisis that faces Zambia's energy sector. But beyond the crisis and the efforts that are being made to mitigate this crisis lies opportunities that you and me can benefit from if we jump on it. And I believe Zesco's doors are open for you to go there anytime and find out for yourselves what it takes to invest in this sector, what are the requirements, what are the do's and don'ts, and just the general knowledge, the requisite knowledge that you need for such an undertaking. So please, as Zambians, let us not be people that only critique, spectate, and do all these kinds of things, but let us jump on this national cake and start benefiting on our own, because the opportunity, as elaborated in simplicity by Mr. Kapepe, is there in the energy sector. We can jump on it, we can take it. So for now, this is where unfortunately we have to end our conversation due to time constraints. But as mentioned, we will bring Mr. Kapepe back just to be able to further highlight and enlighten us onto the nitty-gritties and the inner workings of the energy sector, so that we can understand certain things that we see from afar, or certain things that we just experience without really knowing what factors are influencing such kind of outcomes. Again, you can win yourself some amazing and fantastic prizes. All you simply have to do is be interactive on our platforms. That is Facebook, YouTube, Center for Trade Policy and Development is the handle, CTPD Zambia on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and other social media platforms. If your comment garners enough traction, you might just be that lucky winner that we will give some fantastic and amazing prizes that you do not want to miss out on. The name is Wenson Mavor. See you next time on the People Space podcast.